Step forward, please.
20-year-old physical therapy technician Levita Richter is suing her former friend, 21-year-old caregiver Adriana Falk, for bail money, a loan to get her car fixed, and the cost of a bridesmaid's dress.
Miss Richter, you and the defendant had been friends, according to the complaint that I read.
Yes, Your Honor.
And there was a point when she was in some difficulty. Did she come to live with you at that point?
Yes, she did, Your Honor.
When was that?
About October.
2004?
Yes.
Who were you living with?
My fiance.
Who's now your husband?
Yes.
Is that him?
No.
Who was this?
This is my witness.
According to you, there are 2 loans outstanding. And in addition to the 2 loans, you claim that Miss Falk owes you for this bridesmaid's dress. I assume that this is the bridesmaid's dress. She was an attendant at your wedding. They were supposed to pay for their own dresses. You claim she did not pay for hers.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Falk says that both of those times when you gave her the money, it was a gift, and the bridesmaid's dress, she says she paid for, even though you still have it.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you go to live with Miss Richter and her fiancé, Miss Falk?
I was having some problems with my mother and needed to get out of the situation that I was in.
And when was the first time that she gave you money?
When this guy right over here got taken to jail because of him and his roommates and what they had asked me to do for them. And
well, why don't you explain that to me further?
Okay, I was working at Colusa Casino in Colusa County. And
where is that?
Part of Northern California.
Go ahead.
Me and Mr. Weiser had started dating, and him and his roommates knew obviously that I worked at a casino and asked me if I could possibly give them players cards with instant rewards on them, which is like a credit, and they can go in the casino and play. Well, I told them a number of times I didn't want to do it. I didn't feel comfortable doing it. Now I'm being charged for all 4 of those gentlemen and what they asked me to do.
Just a second. So they asked you to get them these cards, and you said no. So how could you be charged with anything?
Because I did it anyways.
Oh, so you did it. You did something illegal.
Yes, ma'am.
Levita Richter says former friend Adriana Falk owes for bail money, a loan to have her car fixed, and the cost of a bridesmaid's dress.
Explain to me how you did something illegal.
I would go in and add the instant rewards to their cards. That gentleman right there would come in and play his, not only, and all 4 of his
I don't
roommates'
understand the
cards.
instant rewards. What does that mean?
It's just like a credit you can go in and play on slot machines. You can't cash it out. The only thing you cash out is what you win, but you cannot cash out anything on that card.
But you can play with it.
Yeah.
And you knew you were doing it?
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody forces you to steal, madam. That's
Well,
not
this
anybody.
gentleman here did.
No, he didn't. No, Miss Falk. That's not true. If I asked Bird to falsify a document for me, and I've known him for a very long time, 25 years?
At least.
At least. I guarantee you he would not do it for me. And he likes me. And if I asked somebody that I cared about to do something illegal, I would not be angry if they said, no, that's illegal.
Well, they were when I said no.
So then what you say to somebody who's asking you to do something wrong is, I'm sorry, you can be angry, and if you want to not see me anymore, you don't see me anymore. If you want to not be my friend, you don't want to be my boyfriend, whatever it is. But you don't blame somebody else for you're doing something criminal.
There are charges pending on them, but I don't know what they are yet.
Are there charges pending against you?
Yes, there is.
For what?
For second-degree burglary, and it's burglary in the second degree, and then the grand theft as well.
Oh, well, I'm not going to ask you any questions about that because those matters are pending. I'm sorry. You represent the... Stupid. Anyway, you got into trouble and she bailed you out?
Yeah. He was on his way home, and he called her and asked her to bail me out of jail.
Who asked her?
I had called Mr. Weiser and told him that I was in jail because he knew that I was security officers at the casino that morning. Then I ended up being arrested after about an hour or 2 of questioning. I was taken into custody and arrested, and I called him. He was the first person that I was able to call, and he called her and asked her to bail me out.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Who called?
The bail bond gentleman called me at work.
Oh, but she didn't call you.
I spoke to her, and she asked me to come bail her out.
When? You said the bail bondsman called.
I talked to her after the bail bonds gentleman called, and I was allowed to talk to her. And she was crying. She said, please come get me out of this place. Went
You
down.
went there and you bailed her out?
Yes.
What arrangements did you make for her to pay you back?
She was to pay me back. She had promised me that she would pay me back because I wasn't just going to give it to her. I was getting married in a few months and I didn't have that money to spare.
Well, I want to know what conversation did you have with her with regard to paying you back? Don't tell me what she understood.
She
Ms.
just
Richter.
said, I promise that I'll pay you back. I thank you for bailing me out.
When did she say that to you?
In front of the bail bond gentleman, when we were signing these papers.
Let me see the papers. Okay, what was the next amount of money?
It was the $500 that I loaned her to have her car fixed.
Okay, let me hear.
She was driving a Geo Metro. It needed some repairs. It was $1,000 to have it fixed. Matt was my witness. He was going to pay half, and I was going to pay the other half. I wrote him a check. He deposited it into his bank account, and he
Well,
used
just
his
a
credit
second.
card.
Why were you going to pay half? I don't hear what...
She didn't have the money to pay it, and it needed to be fixed, or else she wouldn't be able to drive back and forth to work.
Well, when did you have that discussion with her, Miss Richter?
It was...
On the phone while I was at Winco.
It was not on the phone. She was in my...
Just a minute. Where was it?
I was at Winco with Mr. Weiser at the time, and she called me and told me that her and her husband now were going to loan me the $500.
No, just a second. She said she and her husband were going to loan you the $500. Perfect. And she did. So why don't you have to pay her back?
She had me arrested.
What did she have you arrested for?
Charges on credit card fraud.
And that's another thing that's pending against you? I don't want to hear about it. So she's alleging that you took money from her credit cards. And she called and had you arrested. About the bridesmaid's dress.
Bridesmaid's dress, I was getting married March. She was my maid of honor. I have a list of the other two ladies that were my bridesmaids. They knew they were all to pay for the dress. If they did not pay for the dress, they were to not be in the wedding. Being she was my supposed best friend living with me, I assumed that she would pay me back for it. Don't
assume anything.
That's my fault.
That's your fault is right. It's a very nice dress. I hope you can wear it. You don't assume anything. After she didn't have $315, which she didn't give you back for the bail bondsman, and $500 she didn't have for her car, really $1,000 she didn't have for her car, how you could legitimately expect her to pay for a dress, expect her to pay for a dress, is something I quite frankly don't understand. So it looks like a very nice dress. It's yours. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $815. Thanks. That's all.
Sorry, Judge Judy, you may step out.
Judge Judy, episode 78. When best friends exchange bail bonds instead of friendship bracelets, and the casino always wins. Have you ever woken up on a Tuesday morning, looked at your bank account, and thought to yourself, you know what's missing? A lawsuit against my former best friend for a bridesmaid dress and a Geo Metro repair bill? Well, if you haven't, then you clearly aren't living the high-octane of Falk. I sat down to watch this episode with a bowl of popcorn and a healthy amount of skepticism, but by the 10-minute mark, I was clutching my invisible pearls and wondering if there's a secret academy that teaches people how to make the absolute worst life choices possible before they hit their 21st birthday. This episode is a masterclass in the messy genre of reality television, standing out because it's not just about a few dollars. It's about a complete breakdown of common sense in the face of loyalty. Why is this episode so banding, worth talking about? Because it perfectly captures that bridge between teenage rebellion and adult consequences where everyone thinks they're in a heist movie, but they're actually just in a Northern California courtroom facing a woman with a lace collar and zero patience for nonsense. It's the kind of episode that makes you want to reach through the screen, grab the participants by the shoulders, and scream, "Why are you like this?" while simultaneously taking notes for your next screenplay. It's a drama fueled by the audacity of youth, the complexity of illegal favors, and the sheer irony of suing someone for a wedding dress when you've already had them arrested for credit card fraud. If you're looking for a lesson in how to lose a friend and gain a criminal record in one easy step, this is the episode for you. Let's dive into this swang summary of this three-act, the car and the couture. Act 1. The casino credit caper begins with our defendant, Adriana, who apparently thinks she's a secret agent for her boyfriend and his roommates. Working at Calusa Casino, she decided to add instant rewards to player cards for 4 men who asked her to do it. Imagine the logic. I don't feel comfortable doing this, but I'll do it anyway because they asked. It's the classic Bonnie and Clyde trope, except Bonnie is a 21-year-old caregiver and Clyde is just a guy who wants free slot machine credits. Naturally, she gets caught, and the heist ends with her in a jail cell, sobbing for a bailout. Act 2. The Geo Metro meltdown moves the drama from the jailhouse to the auto shop. Once she's out on bail, thanks to La Vida's $315, Adriana realizes her Geo Metro, the official car of bad decisions in the early 2000s, is falling apart. Because La Vida is apparently a non-profit organization disguised as a friend, she loans another $500 for the car repair. At this point, the audience is screaming at La Vida to stop, but the momentum of bad friendship is too strong to break. Act 3. The Wedding Bell Blues is the final, sparkly nail in the coffin. La Vida is getting married. She buys the dress, expecting reimbursement from a girl who is currently facing grand theft charges and can't afford a Geo Metro. The friendship finally implodes when La Vida has Adriana arrested for credit card fraud, leading us to the ultimate showdown in front of Judge Judy, where a bridesmaid dress sits on the table like a haunting reminder of a wedding that was doomed from the start. Now, let's peel back the layers of these characters and the drama that fuels them. La Vida Richter is the classic GAN team carrier, who doesn't realize she's carrying a team of people who are actively sabotaging her life. She is organized, she has witnesses, she has receipts, and she has a husband who probably spends half his day wondering why his wife is the primary financier of the Colusa County criminal justice system. La Vida's expressions are a mix of "I'm so tired of being the only adult" and "I can't believe I bought a dress for a felon." She plays the role of the victim, but as Judge Judy points out, she is a victim of her own naive assumptions. You can almost see the gears turning in her head. If I just bail her out one more time, she'll surely pay for the silk satin dress. Her chemistry with Adriana is less best friends and more predator and prey, where Adriana is the predator of emotional, on the other hand, is the nan qua bien tap, victim of editing, or rather, a victim of her own lack of accountability. Her fat gone statements are legendary in their lack of logic. She blames her boyfriend for her criminal charges as if he literally possessed her body and forced her to type credits into a casino computer. Her body language is defensive, shifting the blame to everyone from her mother to the bail bondsman. She tries to paint herself as a caregiver who is just trying to survive, but the reality is that she's a chaotic neutral character who views other people's money as a gift. Her interaction with the witness, the guy she blames for her jail time, is particularly fascinating. They share a chemistry that can only be described as mutually assured destruction. It's a drama where nobody is truly likable, but everyone is incredibly watchable. Adriana's thought process seems to be a constant loop of "it's not my fault if they offered," which is exactly the kind of energy that makes for great TV, but terrible life choices. The Bon Te Dao Dien director's hand here is subtle but effective. The way the camera zooms in on the bridesmaid dress, which is, let's be honest, quite lovely, is a deliberate move to heighten the absurdity. It's a visual gag that reminds the viewer that in the middle was worried about matching fabric. The editing emphasizes the low, over-the-top nature of Adriana's excuses by cutting to Judge Judy's iconic "Is this girl for real?" face. The sound effects, especially the sharp gavel bangs, are used as punctuation marks for the complete lack of logic presented by the defendant. While the show feels natural because the participants are clearly this messy in real life, there's a definite scenting of the drama. The producers surely knew that the pending criminal charges would be the real hook, yet they allow the focus to remain on the petty $500 car loan for as long as possible to build the tension. The slow-motion cuts to Adriana's witness looking confused add a layer of comedy that makes the audience feel superior, which is the secret sauce of daytime court TV. This isn't just a trial, it's a morality play staged for maximum cringe factor. Finally, looking at this through a Gok Ninh Van Hoa cultural perspective, we find a lesson that is both nonsensical, and deeply profound. The takeaway is simple. Do not be a bridesmaid for someone you've had arrested. It seems like common sense, but in our current era of toxic positivity and unconditional friendship, we often forget that boundaries are a form of self-care. Today's youth trends are all about loyalty. This episode shows the literal death of that concept when writing involves a geo metro and dying involves a second-degree burglary charge. The trend of overextending yourself to save a troubled friend is a trap that La Vida fell into headfirst. It reminds us that friendship shouldn't require a bail bond as a prerequisite. In a world of social media where everyone presents a perfect wedding aesthetic, this episode pulls back the curtain to show the dirty, unpaid-for fabric underneath. The meaningful message? Your best friend shouldn't be your biggest liability. And if you're going to do something illegal for a guy, at least make sure he's rich enough to pay for his own slot machine credits. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $815 and a judgment from the Court of Public Opinion. Get better friends, La Vida. Moving deeper into the psychological wreckage of this friendship-turned-felony, let us take a moment to truly appreciate the sheer, unmitigated audacity of Adriana Falk. If there were an Olympic sport for dodging accountability while looking like a deer caught in high-definition headlights, Adriana would be draped in gold, silver, and probably a stolen bronze medal she'd claim someone asked her to hold. Her defense for committing second-degree burglary and grand theft at a casino, her place of employment no less. She stands there, in front of the most terrifying woman in the American legal system, and essentially says, "Yes, I stole, but only because my boyfriend and his roommates asked me nicely." It's as if she believes being asked to commit a crime is a magical legal shield that turns a felony into a casual favor, like picking up milk on the way home. The chemistry, or rather the radioactive friction, between Adriana and her witness, the very man she claims forced her into a life of crime, is a fascinating study in toxic codependency. You can practically see the victim script she's running in her head, where she is the tragic heroine forced by love to manipulate casino credit cards, while the rest of the world sees a 21-year-old who desperately needs a moral compass and perhaps a better taste in men. And then we have La Vida, the woman who redefined the term loyalty to mean financial self-destruction. There is something deeply touching, yet incredibly frustrating about La Vida's savior complex. She is the friend who sees a house on fire and thinks, "I should definitely buy some expensive wallpaper for the guest room." Bailing a friend out of jail for casino theft is one thing, but then loaning her $500 to fix a Geo Metro, a car that arguably should have been allowed to die a peaceful death, bless her heart energy. La Vida's psychological state is a cocktail of pre-wedding anxiety and a desperate need to maintain the perfect bridesmaid fantasy, even if that bridesmaid is currently facing a rap sheet longer than a CVS receipt. The presence of the bridesmaid dress in the courtroom is the ultimate visual metaphor for their relationship. It's beautiful, it's expensive, and it's completely useless in the context of their current reality. You can almost feel La Vida's internal scream as she looks at that dress, realizing that while she was picking out floral arrangements, her best friend was busy getting arrested for credit card fraud against La Vida herself. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a gavel. This isn't just a dispute over money, it's a battle over who gets to hold the good person title. Adriana wants to be the victim of circumstances, while La Vida wants to be the martyr of a failed friendship. But in Judge Judy's courtroom, there is no room for martyrs or victims, only for people who can prove where the money went and why it hasn't come back. The drama peaks when the credit card fraud is mentioned, revealing the ultimate betrayal. Adriana didn't just steal from a faceless casino, she allegedly bit the hand that bailed her out. This is the moment the chemistry between them turns from cold to absolute zero. Ride or die culture. Sometimes, if you ride with the wrong person, you both just end up in the impound lot. Let's zoom in on the witness for a second, because that man is carrying enough awkward energy to power a small village. Imagine being the guy who got her into trouble and then showing up to help her in court, only to watch her point the finger directly at your forehead the moment things get heated. The dynamic there is pure chaos. It's a he said, she said, but with the added spice of criminal records and casino security footage. It tells us so much about the social circles these characters move in, circles where loaning $500 for a Geo Metro is a major life event and getting arrested at your job is just a Tuesday. Adriana's attempt to claim the money was a gift is the ultimate gaslighting move in the playbook of bad friends. It's the classic, "I thought we were closer than this" defense. used when you realize you've been caught with your hand in the metaphorical cookie jar. But La Vida isn't playing that game anymore. She's moved past the save the world phase and into the pay me my money phase, which is a glorious transformation to witness. The way she had Adriana arrested for credit card fraud while simultaneously suing her for a dress is a level of multitasking and vengeance that I have to secretly admire. It shows that even the sweetest savior point involved her own credit score. The bridesmaid dress sitting there is like a silent character in this tragedy, representing the death of a dream. La Vida didn't just want the $315 or the $500. She wanted the friend she thought she had. But instead of a maid of honor, she got a second-degree burglar. The drama here isn't just about the cash. It's about the realization that some people are black holes of chaos that will consume every bit of light and money you throw at them. Adriana's caregiver profession is the final, ironic twist. She's supposed to take care of people, yet she's the one who needs a legal and financial conservatorship just to survive a weekend at a casino. The sheer lack of remorse in her voice when she admits to stealing is chilling, yet she still expects the court to see her as a victim of her friends. It's a spectacular display of cognitive dissonance that only reality TV can provide in its purest form. Let's peel back the next layer of this psychological onion and talk about the chemistry in the room, which is less like a friendship and more like a chemical spill at a nuclear power plant. The dynamic between Adriana and Matt Weiser, La Vida's fiancé and star witness, is where the real show, don't tell, narrative of this episode lives. Adriana point-blank accuses Matt of he and his roommates knew she worked at a casino and essentially weaponized their relationship to make her steal. This is a classic toxic boyfriend trope, but with a reality TV twist. The bad influence boyfriend is now the star witness for the woman suing her. Imagine the tension in that living room. La Vida is trying to plan a wedding with a man who her best friend claims is a criminal mastermind of slot machine credits. Adriana's attempt to paint herself as a helpless puppet, saying, "I told them a number of times I didn't want to do it," before admitting, "I did it anyways," is the ultimate peak of her nan victim persona. It is the hallmark of a character who lacks an internal locus of control. In her mind, she isn't a thief. She's a martyr who is bullied into a felony. But Judge Judy, who has spent decades smelling through this kind of social garbage, delivers the line of the night. "Nobody forces you to steal, ma'am." This moment is a total GAN team performance from the judge, as she shuts down the externalization of blame that Adriana uses as a survival mechanism. Then we have the absolute plot twist of the $500 car loan. This is where we see La Vida's savior complex in its final, most delusional form. She writes a check for half the repair as much as its own hubcaps, while Adriana is already in legal hot water. Why? Because without the car, Adriana couldn't get to work. But what work? The job she was already being fired and arrested from for grand theft? The logic here is a swirling vortex of absurdity. La Vida was so committed to the role of the perfect friend that she was willing to subsidize a criminal's transportation to their own arraignment. Adriana's defense that the money was a gift is the dindiem qua su voly, peak of absurdity. She actually stands there and suggests that after someone bails you out of jail, any further money they give you is just a blessing from the universe that doesn't need to be repaid. It is the thinking of a social parasite who has perfected the art of taking until there is nothing left but a bridesmaid dress and a lawsuit. And speaking of the dress, the drama reaches its aesthetic peak here. That dress isn't just a garment. It's a physical manifestation of La Vida's denial. She actually expected a woman she was having arrested for credit card fraud to show up and be the maid of honor at her wedding. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. Adriana's claim that she paid for it, while La Vida still physically has the dress, is the final lie in a long chain of deceptions. You can practically glee at this point, because you couldn't script a more perfect example of a one-sided friendship. The interactions are a masterclass in Doc 6, reading thoughts. La Vida is thinking, "How did I let this happen to my wedding?" While Adriana is thinking, "How can I make this look like I'm the one being bullied?" It is a fascinating, tragic, and deeply hilarious look at what happens when loyalty meets larceny. Adriana is the ultimate nan quabian tap because every time she opens her mouth to explain herself, she just adds another year to her potential prison sentence, while La Vida stands there, the guillotine of the legal burden, finally realizing that her $815 was the price of admission to get this toxic person out of her life forever. Diving headfirst into the mechanics of the Bon Te Dao Dien director's hand, we must acknowledge that while Judge Judy herself is a force of nature, the production team behind the scenes are the true alchemists, turning leaden legal disputes into reality TV gold. There is a specific, calculated brilliance in how this episode is edited to maximize the cringe factor while maintaining a veneer of judicial decorum. Notice the strategic use of reaction shots. Every time Adriana Falk delivers one of her VO justifications about her boyfriend asking stay on her, it cuts immediately to Matt Weiser's face, capturing that perfect, unscripted moment of, I can't believe she's saying this out loud. These are not accidental captures. They are the result of a camera crew that knows exactly where the heat is coming from. The decision to place the bridesmaid's dress, that shimmering, hopeful garment, smack in the middle of the table like a silent, satin-wrapped witness is a masterclass in visual storytelling. It's a prop that editorializes the entire situation without saying a single word. It stands as a monument to La Vida's misplaced idealism and Adriana's utter lack of reciprocating effort. The flaws in the logic of the participants are highlighted by the editing's pacing, the way the show lingers on the silence after Judge Judy asks a particularly damning question. That silence isn't just empty air, it's a narrative device used to emphasize Adriana's lack of a credible defense. It makes the audience lean in, waiting for the inevitable gavel-fueled explosion. The sound design also plays a subtle role. The sharp, echoing bang of the gavel isn't just a sign of a verdict, it's a punctuation mark on the death of a friendship. While the dialogue feels entirely organic to the messiness of these 20-somethings' lives, producers almost certainly saved the revelation about the credit card fraud for the final act to ensure that the audience's sympathy for La Vida reaches a fever pitch just before the guilty verdict is handed down. It's a classic narrative arc: the innocent savior, the ungrateful parasite, and the final, crushing betrayal that turns a civil suit into a criminal postscript. The slow-motion cuts during the commercial transitions are particularly low, over the top, framing Adriana's defensive gestures as if she's a villain in a soap opera, which effectively tells the audience exactly how to feel about her before the trial even concludes. This isn't just a recording of a court case. It's a carefully curated experience designed to make us feel morally superior to the chaos unfolding on screen. Transitioning smoothly from the director's booth to the streets of Northern California, we encounter the Gok Ninh Van Hoa and Bai Hoc, cultural perspective and lessons that this episode leaves behind like a trail of glitter and broken glass. The primary lesson here is a brutal wake-up call for the ride-or-die generation. If your ride involves a second-degree burglary and your die involves a Geo Metro that doesn't even run, it might be time to find a new squad. We see a recurring trend here of young people, La Vida and Adriana, treating high-stakes legal situations. There is a terrifying level of VO energy in bailing someone out of jail for stealing from their employer and then expecting them to be the maid of honor at your wedding. It's a uniquely modern form of denial where we try to filter our real-world problems through a besties forever aesthetic. The cultural trend of the ATM friend, the one who subsidizes the bad decisions of their social circle, is personified in La Vida. She represents the thousands of young adults who confuse enabling with empathy. The lesson for the youth today is simple yet profound. Loyalty has a price limit, and that limit is usually reached long before you have to pay for someone's bail bonds. This episode also critiques the boy-crazy culture that leads women to commit crimes or bankrupt themselves for men who wouldn't even pay for a cup of coffee. Adriana's willingness to risk her career and her freedom for a few slot machine credits because some guys asked her is a chilling reminder of how peer pressure hasn't changed since high school. It just gets more expensive. The ultimate, most VO yet meaningful takeaway? If you have to have your best friend arrested for credit card fraud before your wedding day, maybe just elope and use the bridesmaid dress money for a really good therapist. In our current era of quiet quitting and setting boundaries, La Vida's story is a cautionary tale of a very high credit limit. It's a reminder that while the internet loves a good support your friends quote, the law only cares about who's signing the checks and who's stealing the rewards cards. Case closed, lesson learned. And for heaven's sake, keep your Geo Metro in the garage and your criminal friends at a distance.